name is Gabrielle Armstrong, and I will be talking about blended learning for the EDPE 3129 course. During this informational presentation, we will focus on the understanding of what blended learning actually is, along with what sets it apart from other modes of teaching. We shall also think and explain some ways that one as a teacher could incorporate blended learning in a class. With the rise of the internet and the reign of technology, education has found its way to educate itself and help students reach individual and collective goals. Different methods of teaching and education per se can help motivate students and form them into better adults which are better qualified to work, find success, and acquire knowledge. However, no same method works the same for everyone. Let's take a look at how blended learning does just that. Blend. Definitions we should clarify and get out of the way are the following. Online learning is a mode or technique of education where content and instruction are delivered primarily over the internet. A tech-rich instruction is another model of education where technological devices are used as support for the traditional instruction and enable students to do the same work at the same pace. Lastly, blended learning involves any formal education program in which a student learns partly in a supervised brick-and-mortar location away from home and in another part through online learning, with some element of student control over time, place, path, and/or pace. As Jan Lam expressed in her article, The Context of Blended Learning, the TIPS Blended Learning Model, during the decade of the 90s, the internet changed many things in regards to education. Before, e-learning meant having computers to assist the process of learning, or learning about computers, and with the arrival of the internet, e-learning shifted into learning about the Web 2.0. This brought in new forms of application, interaction, and communities in the web that were non-existent a couple of years earlier. Jane Lam cites e-learning in Web 2.0 as user-centered or learner-centered, collaborative and interactive learning, end quote. This concept of e-learning achieved great importance as a supplement to traditional instruction, as well as to help meet the ever-changing high demand for learning in post-secondary education. Furthermore, the rising popularity of mobile smartphones such as the iPhone, BlackBerry, and Android devices, mobile learning also became commonly used, especially to minimize the restriction of learning due to different locations. As time went on, limitations to both traditional face-to-face and e-learning were identified. Factors such as satisfaction, socialization, and motivation negatively affected e-learning, while being a passive recipient in the traditional instruction mode wasn't exactly better. Thus, in 2010, blended learning was born into the education world because it had the best of both worlds. It maximized the benefits of e-learning as well as of the traditional face-to-face learning, while eliminating the limitations each had. Also referred to as hybrid learning, blended learning has several educational impacts worth mentioning. It provides a learning strategy centered on the learner, which means that the learning process can be molded to each student's needs or type of intelligence. The blended mode of learning also offers limitless student participation as well as active learning, not common in the traditional instruction mode, through social interactions and collaboration with peers. It is also worthy to repeat that a very positive aspect of blended learning is its flexibility, where the student can choose when and where to acquire the knowledge. With this instant and interactive way to eliminate distance, blended learning is also cost-effective. The main purpose of blended learning and its impact on education is that it provides a direct outlet to maximize the benefits and offset the constraints of pure face-to-face traditional mode and the e-learning mode. Slides, we will discuss several images and infographics that can add their grain of salt to the discussion. On this image, we can see the 10 drivers or driving forces of blended learning. Improving the ability to personalize learning is one, then enabling the potential for individual progress, while also improving student engagement and motivation, with the shift to online state tests that started in 2015. Another reason for blended learning is the need to extend time and stretch resources, as well as the potential to extend the reach of teachers. Blended learning has the ability to improve working conditions, decrease device costs, motivate the use of learning apps by students and adults, and help narrow this digital divide. other image, a Venn diagram helps us further visualize what blended learning truly is. On one side, the important aspects and benefits of human contact or face-to-face traditional instruction are mentioned. These include motivation, personalization, quick feedback, listening, relevance, and discipline. On the other side, the benefits of technology are mobility, structure, constant tracking and control, the ability to self-study, the reduced cost, and the global reach. These next few slides will be explaining the blended learning models, which are explained in the site that I utilized, which is called blendedlearning.org. These blended models are meant to help teachers find a specific way to introduce this really nifty type of learning into their classrooms depending on the type of students they have. The station rotation is a model that allows students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule, where at least one of the stations is an online learning station. This model is most common in elementary schools because teachers are already familiar rotating in centers or stations. The lab rotation model, like a station rotation, allows students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule. However, in this case, online learning occurs in a dedicated computer lab. This model allows for a flexible scheduling arrangement with teachers and other paraprofessionals and enables schools to make use of existing computer labs. The individual rotation model allows students to rotate through stations, but on an individual schedule set by a teacher or software algorithm. Unlike other rotation models, students do not necessarily rotate to every rotation. They rotate only to the activities scheduled on their playlists. The flipped classroom model flips the traditional relationship between class time and homework. Students learn at home via online coursework and lectures, and teachers use class time for teacher-guided practice or projects. This model enables teachers to use class time for more than delivering traditional lectures. The flex model lets students move on fluid schedules among learning activities according to their needs. Online learning is the backbone of student learning in a flex model. Teachers provide support and instruction on a flexible as-needed basis while students work through curriculum and content. This model can give students a high degree of control over their learning. The a la carte model enables students to take an online course with an online teacher of record in addition to other face-to-face courses, which often provides students with more flexibility over their schedules. A la carte courses can be a great option when schools can't provide particular learning opportunities, such as advanced placement or elective courses, making it one of the more popular models in blended high schools. The enriched virtual model is an alternative to full-time online school that allows students to complete the majority of coursework online at home or outside of school, but attend school for required face-to-face learning sessions with a teacher. Unlike the flipped classroom, enriched virtual programs usually don't require daily school attendance. Some programs may only require twice weekly attendance, for example. Since 2010, blended learning was born into the education world with a revolutionary approach. It had the best of both worlds. It maximized the benefits of e-learning as well as of the traditional face-to-face learning, while eliminating the limitations each one had. Different than tech-rich instruction and online learning, blended or hybrid learning made sure to bring out the best of other educational methods and not just limit itself to being a support system for them. It has a notoriously positive impact on education, enabling things like active learning, personalization, learner-centeredness, flexibility, and cost-effectiveness, to name a few. With 7 models to choose from, teachers can choose how to include blended learning in their classes. There are even sites like the one I specifically used for information on the models that offer tutorials and exercises to help teachers apply them. Here are the references I utilized for this short investigation presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and you feel better informed in what blended learning actually is, and that you can think of ways that you can involve the models in your regular classroom. Thanks again. Hope you have a good day.